We're reading from Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 6, verses 6 and 7. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitaha anatmanastu shatutve Vatetatmai vashattuvat. Translation. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. Purport. The purpose of practicing Eightfold Yoga is to control the mind in order to make it a friend in discharging the human mission. Unless the mind is controlled, the practice of yoga for show is simply a waste of time. One who cannot control his mind lives always with the greatest enemy, and thus his life and its mission are spoiled. The constitutional position of living entity is to carry out the order of the superior. As long as one's mind remains an unconquered enemy, one has to serve the dictations of lust, anger, avarice, illusion, etc. But when the mind is conquered, one voluntarily agrees to abide by the dictation of the personality of Godhead, who is situated within the heart of everyone as Paramatma. Real yoga practice entails meeting the Paramatma within the heart and then following his dictation. For one who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, perfect surrender to the dictation of the Lord follows automatically. Verse 7. Chitatmana pishantasya paramatma samahita shitoshta sukadukeshu tatamana pamaniyo. For one who has conquered the mind, the supersoul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. Report. Actually, every living entity is intended to abide by the dictation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. When the mind is misled by the external illusory energy, one becomes entangled in material activities. Therefore, as soon as one's mind is controlled through one of the yoga systems, one should be considered to have already reached the destination. One has to abide by superior dictation. When one's mind is fixed on the superior nature, he has no alternative but to follow the dictation of the Supreme. The mind must admit some superior dictation and follow it. The effect of controlling the mind is that one automatically follows the dictation of Paramatma, or Supersoul. Because this transcendental position is at once achieved by one who is in Krishna consciousness, the devotee of the Lord is unaffected by the dualities of material existence, namely distress and happiness, cold and heat, etc. This state is practical samadhi, or absorption in Supreme. Mukam karati vachalam bhangam langate girim yakripantamaham mande siguram dinatarinam om agyanati marandasya garanjara shalakaya chakshurmiritam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. So today we'll discuss different ways of dealing with the mind. Our greatest friend or our greatest enemy? Our mind, our own mind. Can you imagine? The enemy is not somewhere outside there, it's inside, here. The enemy is here, especially if you listen. If you listen to the enemy, it will tell you the whole day long what you shouldn't do or what you shouldn't listen to. If your mind is your friend, then it will help you in Krishna consciousness. So in a purport later on in this chapter 6, it says, what is the treatment for the mad mind? So if you have a mad mind, listen carefully. What is the treatment? The treatment is hearing about Krishna. If you hear about Krishna, then your mad mind will come under control. And eating foodstuff, eating prasad, this is the diet for the suffering patient. So the treatment is our process of Krishna consciousness. We can treat our mad mind. We don't have to suffer. We don't have to suffer this mental torture all the time. We can eat prasad, and we can chant Hare Krishna, and we can hear about Krishna. So there must be a balance in our life. Gita talks about that later on in this chapter. One who is regulated in his eating, sleeping, working, and recreation can finish all material pains by practicing yoga system. So if you want to be free from your disease, material pains, regulation is the answer. You have to regulate your eating, sleeping, work, and recreation. And so Prabhupada has a prescription if you want to be a yogi. Then you cannot work hard for a living and be a yogi. You should eat moderately, gratify the senses moderately. Work should be anxiety-less. You should not dream more. So I don't know how you can do that, but anyway. Yeah, eat less, I guess. And don't be awake at night. This is not good for you. So when Prabhupada was lecturing on the verse about regulating your eating, and one child, when Gurukuli raised his hand, 8 years old boy, he asked Prabhupada, Swamiji, you said if you eat too much, you will pay. How about devotee? What if they eat too much prasadam? So Prabhupada said, you want to eat more? And the boy said, no, I just want to know. Prabhupada said, you think you're eating more? You can eat more. It is medical advice, 2 kinds of mistakes in eating. Overeating and undereating. So undereating mistake for old men is very good. And overeating mistake for boys, that is good. So you can eat more. We cannot. So then the boy says, how about Tamal Krishna and Vishnu Jan Maharaj? Can they eat more? Prabhupada said no. They cannot. But you can eat as much as you like. And so we have to apply the philosophy with intelligence, time, place, and circumstance. If you can digest more, you can eat more. If you cannot digest, and if you live in India and in Vrindavan, you will find out how much you can digest, because if you eat more, then you will get sick immediately. You cannot digest. So Prahlad Maharaj advised his father, my dear father, give up your demoniac mentality. Do not discriminate in your heart between enemies and friends. Make your mind equipoised toward everyone. Except for the uncontrolled and misguided mind, there is no enemy in this world. So we have met the enemy. The enemy is here within us, the uncontrolled mind. And the friend, when the mind becomes controlled by superior dictation, the purport says. So Arjuna's mind was out of control. And that's why he accepted Krishna. He wanted to hear superior dictation from the spiritual master. So if we want to control our mind, we have to listen to superior dictation and take that advice. We have to follow it. And then we can make our greatest enemy into our greatest friend. So what's the purpose of the yoga system? Control the mind to make it a friend. And if you don't do this, we cannot do our mission. We all have a mission. Did you know you have a mission? Everybody has a mission here. Human mission. And that is to carry out the orders of our friend, Krishna. That is our purpose of life. And if we don't do that, if we choose not to accept the control of Krishna, then we accept the control of our 6 enemies: lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and envy. So we need to, Prabhupada says, real yoga practice entails meeting the Paramatma within the heart. So the Lord is in each one of our hearts. But who of us has met Him? Have we met Him? That takes time. We must meet the Super Soul. We must meet Him. How to meet the Super Soul? One time, my son, Govinda, when he was 14 years old, he said to me, "Oh, Mom, you know, if I could just talk to Super Soul, I would never be bored again in my life." So I said, "Yeah, you can talk to him. You just chant Hare Krishna, because Hare Krishna Mahamantra will penetrate, will clean the heart. And then when the heart is clean, then you can talk to Super Soul. And when you chant, then you connect with Super Soul also. By chanting Hare Krishna, you connect. And if you study Bhagavatam 2nd canto, 2nd chapter, you find out that Super Soul is the form of intelligence. All intelligence is coming from Super Soul. Gita also confirms that in the 15th. Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto matasviti jnanam apohanam cha. From me comes remembrance and forgetfulness. So when we chant Hare Krishna, we connect to Super Soul. And what happens when we connect to Super Soul? We get unlimited intelligence. If you listen. If you listen to the Hare Krishna Mahamantra when you chant, then so many things can come out of it. I have that experience when I was teaching Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Vedanta course. Then sometimes I would have to speak on a verse that I could not understand. So I would chant, I would read the verse, then I would chant one round. And after that I could understand the verse. And one time, there was a whole chapter I couldn't understand. That was the chapter on time. So I read the chapter and then I chanted all my 16 rounds. And then I got a wonderful chart just in time for class. I made this chart on time. So it really works. If you chant with attention, if you hear the syllables, if you chant the syllables properly, you can connect with Super Soul. You can get unlimited intelligence. If you're less intelligent, doesn't matter. Super Soul's in your heart, you connect, you get unlimited intelligence. He's a reservoir of intelligence. So, Arjuna compared the mind to the wind. He said, I cannot control, it's just like the wind, later on in this chapter. But if we go to Bhagavad-Gita in Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, it also talks about a comparison of the wind with the mind. And the wind is one of our gurus. We have 24 gurus. If you study the Bhagavad-Gita, that is later on in Bhagavatam, it's an expansion of Bhagavad-Gita. So there in Bhagavad-Gita it is said that the wind, when the wind blows in many directions at once, the atmosphere becomes agitated. Similarly, if the mind is constantly attracted and repelled by material objects, there will be such mental disturbance, it will be impossible to think of the absolute truth. So I saw a picture today on Facebook of Hurricane Michael, which was about to strike in Florida. There is this picture of they were facing the hurricane, and there is this huge, dark clouds, circles of clouds approaching. And there was a sign, speed limit 35 miles per hour. And somebody commented, well, I don't think the hurricane's going to follow the speed limit. So that's the wind. The wind, who can control the wind of the hurricane? Our mind is like that hurricane. It can be. It can destroy our life if we allow it to. If we listen to lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and envy, then we can destroy our peacefulness. And so we learn from the wind how we can move through this material world without attachment. The wind, when it goes over a rose garden, it picks up the beautiful scent, And after some time it drops it. And the wind goes over the garbage dump, and it picks up the terrible smell and leaves it. After some time it leaves it. So similarly, we go through life. We pick up happiness, but we have to leave it. And we pick up distress, and we should leave it also. We should not dwell. We should not allow the mind to dwell on these things. So this we learn from the wind. You let it go. Let it go. Don't keep your happiness and distress. Don't keep it, because you can't keep it, even if you try. Even if you try. Of course, you can make yourself crazy by trying to keep it. So this is not good. Yeah, so what happens when we have lust, we have desire, it's not fulfilled, then we become angry. Kam, krodh, lobh, then we become greedy. Oh, I must have more. This is not enough. One of the richest men in America, I think his name was John Paul Getty. I don't think he died. No, so somebody asked, what is your philosophy? He said one word, more. That's my philosophy, greed. Greed. No matter, he had millions, billions, trillions, he had billions, but he was not satisfied. So, so that shows that even if you have billions, it won't help you. You have millions, it won't help you. I told this story, I think, in the last Bhagavatam class about one man who we met on book distribution in Ireland. I didn't meet, someone my friend met. And the devotee was telling, there's no happiness in this world. And the man said, yeah, I know, the happiest day of my life was when I bought my boat. Because in Ireland there's lots of rivers and lakes and everybody has a boat. He said, but then, the happiest day of my life was when I sold my boat. Because I could not maintain it. It was more trouble to maintain than I got enjoyment out of it. And so that's the nature of this material world. And there's so many problems of greed for wealth. So many bad things. Bhagavatam says, in the earning, attainment, increase, protection, expense, loss, enjoyment of wealth, all men experience labor, fear, anxiety, and delusion. So we have to realize our mind is our friend, our mind is our enemy. And they are both existing within. We have, there is an American fable which I think most of you have heard before about inside of us. We have a material dog and a spiritual dog. The two dogs are fighting. And which dog is going to win the battle? The dog you feed the most. You feed your material dog, it's going to win and take you over. Feed your spiritual dog, it's going to win. Whichever one you feed, whichever one you give attention to, that one is going to win. So as devotees, we may struggle in our spiritual life, but we need to feed our spiritual dog, and that will help us. So should we just renounce everything and forget about it? And no. Narottam Das Thakur says that you can use lust, anger, greed in Krishna's service. You can use these things also. You can tame them. Kama, another meaning, and not only does it mean lust, it means desire. So we can have different kinds of desires. So Prabhupada gave the example of himself using kama in Krishna's service. So how did Prabhupada use desire in Krishna's service? He said, just like I'm writing books whole night. So for an old man like this, it's tedious, it's difficult, but we're doing it for Krishna. So similarly, another author may be writing books whole night for some sex literature, and the labor he's doing, labor I'm doing might be the same. Same ambition, let me become a big author and get so much money. But I'm doing it for Krishna and he's doing it for his sense gratification. So anger, Hanuman, Arjuna's going to be angry in the battle of Kurukshetra and fight. He's going to use anger for Krishna. How to use greed, be greedy for devotional service, greedy to serve the Vaishnavas. How to use moha, illusion. Lord Chaitanya said, Jagayitam Shunjayitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Jagayitam Nimeshina Chakshusha Pravishayitam Shunjayitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahename. That without seeing Govinda, I'm feeling illusion. I'm feeling everything is void. This whole world is void. So in separation from Krishna, we can use illusion in Krishna's service. So what happens if these enemies are attacking us? What can we do? What can we actually do? So we can go for protection to Krishna. If you examine closely Krishna's lotus feet, you will find one mark on the bottom of his foot, the chakra. If you meditate on the chakra on Krishna's lotus feet, then this will destroy your 6 enemies, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya. All your 6 enemies will be destroyed. So that's one thing you can do. Meditate on the chakra, on Krishna's lotus feet. That chakra is there to show that Vishnu is also taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Now there's a verse in Bhagavatam that talks about some other problems which we have, 6 other material waves that may disturb us in our life. Hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, old age, and death. So if you take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, you can transcend the influence of these things. But even if you're born in a low family like we are, Malecha family, it says you are immediately relieved of bondage to material existence if you just chant the holy name of the Lord even one time. One time Prabhupada was speaking from the story of Ajamila, who chanted at the time of death Narayan, and somebody was reading the verse. So Ajamila chanted Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. Prabhupada said, no, only once. 3 times not necessary. So why are we chanting so many rounds all day? Because we need to practice. We need to practice to become perfect. We want to remember Krishna at the time of death. Then we have to practice. Prabhupada gives the example that when we learn how to write, we practice. And eventually it comes. And so when we chant, we practice. As Krishna says later when Arjuna said, the mind is like the wind, I can't control. Then Krishna says, no, it's possible. I know it's difficult to control the mind, but it's possible by practice and by detachment. So another verse in Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 15th chapter, verse 42, 43, talks about the body is like a chariot. The senses are like horses. The mind is like the reins. The objects of the senses are the destinations. Intelligence is the driver. Consciousness is the cause of bondage to this material world. Then we have the living entity is the owner of the chariot, so we are inside this chariot. And we are the archer on the chariot. And the bow is Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We're holding the bow, our japa beads. And we are the arrow. So when we chant Hare Krishna, the target is Krishna. We shoot ourselves to Krishna. That's what we do when we chant. We chant nicely, of course. There is a quality to our chanting. So if we take shelter of Krishna, he will give us protection. What will he give us protection from? What do we have to worry about? What do we have to fear in this material world? So Prabhupada gives us examples. Well, we may have anxiety over the future, over our maintenance. How will I maintain myself? How will I live? And so in Gita, Krishna said, don't worry. If you lack something, I'll give you. If you have something, I'll protect it. You won't lose it. You won't lose it. I'll take care of it. And we have experience of that. Krishna takes care of us. So protection from anxiety over your maintenance. Maintenance is taken care of by Krishna. Another protection, another thing we may worry about is fall down. Oh, what if I forget about Krishna and leave devotional service? What if I fall down? And so if we study Bhagavatam, we see so many devotees fell down. Chitraketu, Indradumna, we're hearing about the story of Indradumna Maharaj now in Srimad Bhagavatam, how he fell down. He was cursed. But he was protected. He remembered Krishna. He was Chaitaguru in his heart. Although he had an elephant body, he remembered the prayers of his previous life. And Bharat Maharaj became a deer. He remembered his previous devotional service. So his next life he didn't make any mistakes. He was protected when they wanted to sacrifice him to Kali. Now Kali Puja is going to come up, I think, soon. Maybe next month, yeah. Maybe this month, I don't know. Maybe already finished? Huh? It's going on now. Oh, so Kali Puja is part of Navaratri. Calcutta. Yeah, and Nepal. Erase, be careful. And so he was protected. They wanted to sacrifice him to Kali. They wanted to sacrifice Jada Bharat. And he went along. He said, okay, Lord, you protect me. He just went along with it. Kali could not tolerate that here is a pure devotee. And these dacoits want to kill him. She came, she jumped out of the altar, and she saved the devotee. Protection from fall down, protection from death. So protection from worry about maintenance. And now another problem is we get attacked by Maya. So protection from Maya. That's another thing Krishna will protect us from. So how can we be protected by Maya? And Prabhupada said, you can become strong by chanting Hare Krishna. This will give you protection. Vishnujan Maharaj used to say, if you chant your 16 rounds, you've got your protective shield. And Maya cannot get you. If you don't chant your 16 rounds, then watch out. Maya will attack and you won't be strong enough. So that's why it's best to chant in the morning. Then you got the protection already. Otherwise, during the day, you might have to fight off your mind. Maya is in the mind. Maya is in the mind. Okay, protection from Maya. Protection from anarthas. We have some bad qualities in our heart, dirty things in the heart. So if we take shelter of Krishna, then we will be protected from these bad things. Also, the next thing, another thing that's a problem, besides anarthas, besides bad qualities, is sinful desires. We have sinful desires in our heart, and they come up sometimes. Sometimes in the day, sometimes during dreams, sometimes in the night, and we have to be able to take shelter of Krishna when these things come up. And Krishna will protect us. So you may think, well, okay, Krishna's going to protect me, but what if I'm just a new devotee? What if I'm not 100% pure devotee? Is Krishna going to protect me? You might have that question. Prabhupada answers that question in a very beautiful purport about Durvasa Muni. Durvasa was attacked by, about Ambarish Maharaj. Durvasa Muni attacked Ambarish Maharaj. And Maharaj was just there, okay, whatever you want, Lord, I'm ready. But the Lord, again, could not tolerate. He sent his Sudarshan Chakra to protect Maharaj Ambarish. So the Lord knows how to protect his devotee. Prabhupada said that the Lord knew what was going to happen. So before anything happened, he arranged for his chakra to come and protect Maharaj Ambarish. So here's the sentence that Prabhupada said, that You should listen. This protection is offered to a devotee even from the very beginning of his devotional service. So, all of you have begun your devotional service. You have come to this class. That's maybe that's where you're starting. I don't know, but I think most of you have started before. So, but even from the first day, you're protected. Prabhupada says. So isn't this wonderful? Good news. Good news. See, you're all protected here. But the protection, of course, is according to how much you allow him to protect. He wants to protect you completely. But we don't allow ourselves to be protected completely by Krishna. We try to protect ourselves. And so, but Krishna, he's ready to give protection. And so, how to control the mind? We've given some ideas. Take shelter of Krishna, chant Hare Krishna, pray to Krishna. And there's a really nice prayer in Chaitanya Charitamrita to Lord Chaitanya. If you are in anxiety about some outcome, something that will happen, here's a prayer for you to do before anything happens, before your challenge. Katanchana smite yasmen duskaram sukaram bhave vismite viparitam sya chi Chaitanya namamitam. Things that are very difficult to do become easy to execute if one somehow or other simply remembers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You got that? Something is difficult to do, you remember Lord Chaitanya, becomes easy. But if one does not remember Lord Chaitanya, even easy things become difficult. To this Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I offer my respectful obeisances. So, I will stop here. Time for questions. I always like to have questions. And if you don't have questions, class is over. Why can't
what's the difference between illusion and madness? Or,
moha and mada.
Yeah, you can be mad.
Yeah, what does it do? Yeah. Really mad, okay, what's the difference between illusion and madness? So madness is a general category which can include all of the 6 enemies. Madness can include lust, anger, greed, illusion, and envy. Madness is the general category of what's happening, what our mind is. It's mad. And all of these things are symptoms of the mad mind. And not only is it the category, but illusion, after illusion, the next step is madness also. That's another way to look at it. Illusion first, okay, we forget Krishna, we think, okay, I'll get some happiness in this world, and then we become mad. So first we have the illusion that, okay, yes, I can enjoy. I can enjoy. It doesn't matter, I'm 70 years old, no problem. Let me try again. We see in America these old age places, they're all trying to enjoy. But it doesn't do them any good. They're trying their best, but it's not working. This is illusion. And then comes madness, that you do anything to get your happiness. And so people are sacrificing their youth to get money. Then they get money, then when they're old, they have money. They sacrifice their money for their health. They sacrifice their health for wealth and sacrifice their wealth for health. It goes opposite when you're old. And so we see that people are mad in the material world. They do crazy things just so they think they can be happy by doing these crazy things. But it's the next step after illusion. It's the next step. And it's more of a general category of all of these things. Of course, all of these things can be called illusion, but madness is like the next. We think our family will protect us. That's an example. Tesham pramada Nidhanam Pashanapi Napashati. Although seeing that they're not going to protect us, still we think, oh yeah, no, when I get old, then I'll be protected by my son, by my relatives. It doesn't work. It doesn't happen. Yes?
I know a bit about your interaction with Srila Prabhupada.
You want to know about what?
Your interactions with...
My interaction. We got that question last class. My interaction with Srila Prabhupada. Well, one time I was doing Mangalarti. I was Pujari in Calcutta Temple in this 72 to 79. When Prabhupada was here, my service was Pujari for Calcutta Temple Radha Govinda. So one time I was doing Mangalarti, and I turned around with the ghee lamp to offer it to the people, and there was Prabhupada standing right behind me. And I was really nervous. I didn't know, should I give him the ghee lamp or should I do puja? What should I do? I think I did a quick puja and then I gave him the ghee lamp. And the whole arti, I was very attentive and nervous, and I thought, oh, I should do all my service like this. Prabhupada is watching me, standing behind watching me do that service. Another thing that happened, I'll just tell one more thing, and then we can go back. Every day, behind the deities, there was an open window, and the bees used to come. Radha Govinda's altar, 2 big bumblebees would come, circumambulate, and then go inside the lotus flowers. We had every day 144 lotus flowers, big ones. The bees would go inside. On Jagannath's altar, small bees were coming and sitting on the garlands. And so Prabhupada noticed the bees. He said, oh, when the bees are coming, that means Krishna is pleased with the puja. So Krishna, the bees are, you can see descriptions of Vaikuntha, where the bees are sitting in Vaikuntha. So Jagannath was the Vaikuntha side, and the bees were sitting, and Radha Krishna was the bumblebee. Radharani's bumblebee was coming on Radha Krishna's side. Yeah. Okay, you had, again, question?
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Krishna says that don't worry, I will protect you, I will supply what you need.
Yeah.
But I see myself and many of my friends also in Krishna consciousness still worry. But when they think about it, they say, but why should I worry? Krishna has always protected me. But still, this worry is there. So, what is your advice to get
how to get free from worry?
Yes,
His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj has said that worry is just like a prayer for something we do not want to happen. So if you meditate on something that you're worried about, it can happen. So you better not think about it. If you think about it, negative meditation, like, especially here in Vrindavan, you might walk by a desire tree. There's one right out there. And if you're having this negative thought, well, watch out, It can happen. So as soon as the negative thought comes, you think positively. You have to train your mind to be positive. In the material world, they have positive affirmations to help you heal your diseases. So you can heal your mind by having positive thoughts. Krishna is in control. Krishna knows what's best for me. When you're in difficulty, there's a prayer Sachinandan Swami advises us to say. And he says we should go to Krishna and we should say, okay, there's a difficulty here and I'm alone and I cannot handle this. I cannot do this alone. It's beyond my intelligence. It's beyond my mental capacity. I cannot control my mind. I cannot, whatever it may be. So you please maintain me and protect me. So Maharaj says, maintain means to maintain my spiritual position. That's the most important thing we have, is our, whatever we have in spiritual life. That is our most important thing, because that will keep us from being crazy. It will keep us from suffering in this material world. Our spiritual position, whatever position we have come to in our years of devotional service. And protection means please keep me in a position where it will not be too difficult for me to live. Please keep me, maintain me, protect me and maintain me. Protect me, protect my spiritual position, maintain me in such a place that I don't have to worry about it's not too difficult for me. So he said we can pray like that to Krishna. You can look it up maybe somewhere on his website. Find that prayer. It's a really nice prayer. We can go to Krishna and be very positive. Yes, I know you will do what is best for me. So whatever happens, we have to accept, oh, this is the best thing. This is the best thing. Krishna knows what's best. We have to say, thank you, Krishna. And so another antidote to worry and depression is to be always grateful. Be grateful. Oh, today I can see you. I can go and see your beautiful form. Today I can chant your name. And some days, a few days ago, I had a cold. I couldn't chant properly. And so today I'm very grateful. Oh, I can chant nicely today for you. Yeah, I can walk. I see people in wheelchairs who cannot walk, or who have one leg that come to the temple, or have sores all over their legs. So I can walk today. Wow, thank you, Krishna. So gratitude is very helpful for keeping your mind peaceful and satisfied also. Be grateful for what you have, and that will help also. Any other questions? Yes, on this side. And then we will go here.
You say that in order to control the mind, one should learn detachment. So
Krishna said, not me.
can you say more about this detachment? From what?
Yeah. Well, detachment is described as a process of surrender. In the process of surrender, there's 6 steps. The first step is to accept everything favorable, and the second step is to reject everything unfavorable. So in this way we practice detachment. There may be something favorable, but our mind may not like to do it. Maybe, maybe it's favorable to get up early in the morning and go to Mangalarti. It's favorable to chant our rounds early in the morning. Our mind may say, no, I want to sleep. But so that's detachment, when you get up early and don't listen to your mind. And then there's things we have to reject which are unfavorable. Overeating, eating things outside on the road. You may like pani puri a lot, but don't do it. Unless if you're Indian, it's easier, but if you're Western, forget it. Your stomach will not accept. So accepting favorable and rejecting unfavorable, that's detachment. That's how we practice detachment. Of course, the 4 good principles. But then there's other things throughout the day. Be detached from your mind's craziness. Try to bring it to the direction of Krishna consciousness. And that's also detachment. Don't listen to your mind when it tells you to do nonsense, or it goes on about criticizing devotees. That's also a good place to be detached. Any other questions? Okay, I can tell a few more stories about Prabhupada. I came to Vrindavan in 1972 for Nectar of Devotion classes in Radha Damodar Temple. So we would have darshan with Srila Prabhupada after the class. One class, Prabhupada was sitting, and there were some bananas at his feet. So one monkey ran in the room, grabbed the bananas, and ran out. And Prabhupada said, just see how intelligent the monkey is. You would not dare to do such a thing. He said, but don't be intelligent like the monkey. Monkey is intelligent for eating. Don't be intelligent like the monkey. Then I was in Calcutta. I was typing for Prabhupada whenever he would come, his books. One time he came with Pradyumna, the Sanskrit editor, and Pradyumna said, Prabhupada is going to translate Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he needs somebody to type. So how would you like to go with Prabhupada to Mayapur and type? And I said, yes, I want to go. And he said, so you have to learn to read Bengali, and we're leaving tomorrow. I said, no problem. So I learned in 1-2 hours Bengali script, how to transliterate from Bengali to English. And I was off next day with Prabhupada. We were living in a Lotus building under construction. No, there were bathrooms, and there were no pipes in the bathrooms. There was no water. We had to go down to a pump and bring a bucket up. And so I was sitting and typing on a manual typewriter. Maybe none of you have ever seen such a thing. It runs without electricity. There is such a thing as a typewriter that you don't plug in. It's unattached. So I was typing on such a thing, and instead of hitting the button to go back, you have to manually push it back. You type, and then you have to smash it back. Return. Return. So I was typing like this, and so Prabhupada, he came and he looked, and there was no window. It was a hole in the wall because it was under construction. And he looked and he said, oh, you know Bengali? I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. I had this big, huge Bengali Chaitanya Charitamrita open, and I had the earphones from Prabhupada's transcriber. And I would read the Bengali. I would hear Prabhupada speak. I would read the Bengali, and I would type in English letters. So he called me to his room. He said, you know Bengali? I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. So he said, so I want you to learn to type in Bengali typewriter, and we will do many books together. And so I thought, oh, I'm going to travel with Prabhupada. But it never happened, because a few days later, or a week or two later, all the pujaris in Calcutta left, and they called me to be the head pujari, because a new president was coming, and they were all afraid of the president. His name was Gargamuni. So they all left, and I was called back to Calcutta to be pujari. So, but anyway, it happened 30 years later. I started doing books, writing books. I've written 14 books now. Srimad Bhagavatam at a glance, Bhagavad-Gita at a glance. So what the words that Prabhupada spoke came true. So whatever a pure devotee says must come true. So we did books. We're doing books together, Prabhupada and I. And one Bengali brahmachari, he was teaching me to type on the Bengali typewriter. So I said, look, you don't have to look at the keys. You just look at the page and you remember where the keys are. So I was teaching him touch typing on Bengali. So he said, oh, now I understand what Prabhupada told me. He told me, you teach her and you learn from her also. So I was teaching him how to do touch typing on the Bengali typewriter. Yeah, so mostly my association with Srila Prabhupada was in Calcutta Temple, because Prabhupada would come to Calcutta every time before going to Mayapur, and after going to Mayapur he would stop in Calcutta. So we would see him on his way to and from Mayapur. And he was very appreciative. He was always thanking us for staying in Calcutta. He said, I cannot stay here, because his wife was there and he was sannyasi. So he said, thank you for preaching. I know you don't even get milk sometimes. And he was always praising the deity worship. Every class practically he would say, Shivigrahara Dana Nityanana. He said this deity worship is being carried out by Srimati Radharani under her management. And when you do deity worship, then you're working under the management of Srimati Radharani. One time, Prabhupada was speaking on Bhagavad-Gita, and so before the class, the men were chanting. The men had the books. The ladies didn't have any books. So it came ladies' turn. I chanted it by memory. I chanted the verse by memory. So Prabhupada said, oh, he was very happy. His eyes got big. Oh. He was happy if we knew the verses. He was very happy. Avajananti mudha manushinta namashita, that verse. That fools deride me when I come to this, with this human form. So, okay, any last question? Okay, last question.
Yes, this is about
I can't hear you.
About being protected by the chanting of the
Yeah,
Krishna.
Prabhupada said we are protected by chanting.
Yes, but there is a kind of a this little delicate issue that some devotees think that 16 rounds is very little, it's like nothing.
Yeah.
And, we should try to chant more than 16 rounds. But I heard different things about that. Like Prabhupada wanted the devotee to do their service more than to try to chant more rounds also. There is different, it is like confusing a little bit.
Well, sometimes he didn't think we were qualified pretty much. We were not qualified to chant more, but he did encourage us to chant more. In my initiation letter, he wrote, chant at least 16 rounds. So that implied that 16 was the minimum. He encouraged us. One time, Lokanath Maharaj was asking Prabhupada about, oh, some devotees want to chant more, Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, so who's stopping them? It's no problem. If you want to chant more, you can, but not as an excuse to not do service, of course. Somebody, I just heard recently, I heard a story in the memories of Prabhupada, that Prabhupada, there was nobody to clean Prabhupada's room. And so Prabhupada's servant came, and one devotee came and asked another devotee who was chanting, oh, we need somebody to clean Prabhupada's room. And the devotee said, no, and Prabhupada was there that time. He said, no, I have to finish my rounds, I cannot. And so the other devotees were so eager, they said, no, we'll get the chance, we will clean Prabhupada's room. And Prabhupada was actually there, and you can be with him. It was like, wow. And so what a foolish idea. And Prabhupada is right there, and you don't want his association. And anyway, yeah, but it's time, place, and circumstance. You have to, we should not judge devotees. We should not criticize other devotees. One time in Australia, I think temple president was not chanting his rounds, and one devotee brought it up to Prabhupada in a class. So, oh, this devotee, he's not following properly. He didn't say the name, but he said, and Prabhupada said, that is not for you to judge. That is for the spiritual master. And the devotee thought Prabhupada didn't hear. He said again, and Prabhupada said again, no, not for you to judge. But you have to be introspective and be honest with yourself that what is my qualification? What can I do for Krishna? Can I chant for Krishna? That's also a service. We have our 24-hour kirtan here. Yes?
Also, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that whatever we do, whatever service we do, must be accompanied by the chanting.
Well, whatever service we do must be accompanied by
We can
chanting.
wash the dishes and chant Hare Krishna. Also.
Yeah,
Wash
okay.
the floor.
Nobody's stopping you. Okay, last, all right. Very last question.
Hare Krishna. Well, sometimes we see, devotees they took vow of 64 rounds and something round. So we see during the Mangal Aarti time, the
Yeah,
time of
chanting.
Kirtan, in Mangal Aarti in front of Radha Samsa, they didn't chant the Kirtan loudly with the devotees, they chant their rounds in Parikrama, and the same time where the class is going on and devotees is chant.
Mm.
So it seems to be not good to.
Yeah, not so good. What are you going to hear? Which one you going to hear? Your rounds or the kirtan or the? Yeah.
So this is completely wrong, I think.
Well, it's not completely wrong, but it's not a good idea. At least they're chanting. Now you can't say, don't judge, no.
Any example from any scripture of,
Example from scripture, no. But this question was asked about, should I chant my rounds while driving a car? I think Pralananda Swami was asked that question. And he said, well, which one are you going to pay attention to, your rounds or the chanting, or the car? You're going to pay attention to your driving, or you're going to pay attention? One of them is going to suffer. Either your rounds will suffer or your driving is going to suffer. And so you have to be careful. Yeah, but this is something that devotees do. Don't criticize, but what can you do? There's only so much time in the day. But of course, the best thing is sit in the japa time and chant and peacefully.
This is the 11th of us also, inattentive while chanting.
Yeah.
Because we just listen to class and at the same time we are doing our chanting around.
Right.
So this is the offensiveness.
Inattentive chanting is an offense. Yes, we know that. Okay, Hare Krishna, all glories to Shiva Prabhupada.